Hello, this is a tarot reading for Pisces for February 2017. Um, in this reading, I've sort of come to the conclusion that I'm not going to be able to just go through these readings in total order. Sometimes I'm going to need to sort of like go around and explain the cards out of order, not read them in any particular order, because the message is coming through that way, so to speak. And I'm going to get straight into your reading today. If you haven't checked out the introductory videos, please do that. They'll explain sort of how I read the cards and everything and what everything represents. Um, Today, for your current situation, I have the Queen of Coins. The Queen of Wands. And your overall message is the King of Wands. Okay, so you've got the Queen of Wands as your current situation. Overall message is the King of Wands. So what I'm personally taking this to say, and it comes through in the cards, which I'll get into, is that you're undergoing a process of refinement, specifically refining your will and the process of taking your vision and making it a reality, putting it into the world around you. You're undergoing the process of learning to do that very effectively and very efficiently. Now, you already have a very good command of this. This is like, you want to think of this, this energy as sort of like a very, very high refining process. And I'm sorry about the weird lighting. It's kind of unavoidable at this time of day where I have to film, but at least you can still hear me. So, now what's crossing you is the Page of Coins, right? And this is a very energetic, in some ways optimistic, but materialistic person. So I can see that in the past you have the Three of Cups, which is indicating that you've had a lot of success, and it's been sort of more of an energy of celebration and achievement, and uh, a celebratory, a good type of attitude. But I think you may have some creative conflicts coming in the future, or you're running into creative conflicts. They're sort of paving the path forward, which is what the Five of Wands is suggesting. Now, what this probably means is that you are in a place where you've come across the last lesson that you need to learn to really master your will, And when I say master, keep in mind that you're never a master, but you're on the verge of figuring out the nature of what you're trying to accomplish, the nature of what it takes, the nature of what types of specific efforts you need to put into the situation to reap the benefit most efficiently. We sometimes we think we're really good at something that's very complex, but until you step back and say, well, no, maybe I can always improve, you never really get better, because it is so complex, because there's so many variables involved, especially something as like trying to use the law of attraction, right? Like trying to manifest things into your environment, or in simpler terms, trying to play out your vision, play out your dreams. And it can be simple dreams. It can be just a small business on the side of a corner of a street or something. It could be anything. So you're testing your ability to manifest. And it seems like this Page of Coins, this is a very positive energy. So it's not as though this is an antagonistic person to you. It's someone who's sort of a friend, and these creative conflicts, I think, are going to come as the result of this purification process. It's not that you and him, or like either one of you, is wrong. You're growing. Because you are such good friends, you are growing to your fullest extent. The foundation of the situation is the wheel. And now the wheel is, you can call it the Wheel of Fortune. You can call it sort of just like karma, the karmic wheel. you can say that every action has a reaction, and all this stuff, everything that ever happens to you is. I just noticed the white side has a white plug, and the dark side has a black one. That's cool. Anyway, in the Wheel of Fortune, everything has purpose, everything has meaning, even if that meaning isn't at the level of analysis that you're trying to understand it at. For example, like in your body, there are really more microorganisms than there are cells that belong to you. It's about 9 to 1, actually. 9 microorganisms, or bacteria, or commensals, whatever you want to call them. There are about 9 of those for every cell that's actually in your body. So there is a really complex system that makes up what you are. It's not just this thing that's sitting in your head. That's a part of it. It's actually a part of it, but it's not the thing. It's not the entire thing. There's you're like an iceberg. Your 90% of you is totally unknown, and that means to you as well. 90% of who you are, you don't even know yourself. So the foundation of this situation is you going through this process of discovering and uncovering what it is inside you, your true potential, that sort of thing. The crowning thoughts is the sun. Woo! Sorry. The sun. Speak of the devil. And the sun is all about sort of clarity and simplicity, cutting straight to the point, not being cryptic, trying to be direct with your words, that sort of thing. There's a time and a place for that. There's a time and a place for the opposite energy as well, the moon energy, the intuitive, sort of not directly spoken, like speaking through body language and looks and things like that. Okay, so that's your crowning thoughts. You are in a place where you're trying to do things the right way. You're trying to do things clear and focused, and you're not wanting confusion or things like that. You've identified that is counterproductive to your will, that if people can understand or trust you, their willpower becomes your willpower. It's sort of a domino effect. You can sort of funnel creative potential through a supportive network around you, and the better that network is, the more energy you seem to have. Maybe just creative energy, maybe literally physical energy. It gets you out of bed. You wake up fast and you want to go talk to people and do things, and you do it. Your advice for the current situation is the Fool. And this makes a lot of sense to me, because the Fool in this situation is telling you not to hold expectations for how the future will go. Okay, so in other words, we know that you're very skilled. We know that you have a lot of clarity. You've got the sun in your consciousness, in your crowning thoughts, and you've got the Queen of Wands as your current situation. So we know that you're a very adept, powerful leader. You're a visionary. You're able to make the world around you change to a certain extent. But remember that you're not in this situation to exercise the skills that you already have. You're in this situation to develop a new skill. So that means that in this situation, you need to sort of abandon the attitude of sage, of wise old leader, and really feel, there's all kinds of literature about kings going and speaking with their soldiers as if, in secret, as if they were one of the soldiers. Something is really, really to be, and I mean, almost every episode of it, or every TV series that has sort of a hierarchical structure, has an episode that is a rendition of that idea, or an episode in Star Trek, for example. There's, normally they follow the top officers and the captain with the camera and the plot line, but then they had one where it was just the people below decks and their perspective on how things looked from the bottom. that's a very valuable thing for you to adopt at this time. So in other words, wisdom is great, but if you can throw off your wisdom for a second, or put it on the shelf for a second, and maintain this attitude of the fool who doesn't really know anything about what he's talking about, then you can really listen. And then when you really, really listen, you can get new ideas. And if you get an idea that you can't really grasp, your mind will do what it needs to do to expand, to fill that, to integrate that idea. You know what I mean? So don't ever underestimate, a mind can't really be changed, but don't underestimate the power of planting a seed, So in other words, you may not be able to hear from anyone the truth that you're looking for, the actual trick, the actual, goodie that you're looking for. You may not be able to get it from anybody else, but you can get the seed from somebody else that grows inside you into whatever you're trying to become. So don't block people out. Let people in. Really pay attention to people's advice and that kind of thing. I see this in the form of an opportunity. So in your current environment, you have the Four of Cups. Now the Four of Cups is actually all about perspective. It's about having abundance right above you that you're not really paying attention to. And it's not that you don't necessarily see those things. You kind of know that they're there, but you can't pay attention to them anymore. You have this feeling of melancholy. It's kind of a numbness that comes over you, where even if you're happy for a really long time, eventually it wears off, and then you feel empty again. And it's this continuous cycle, but it's all based on perspective. It's all because you're constantly looking for the grass on the other side of the fence. The grass is always greener, and that comes from considering the negatives of your current situation more than the positives, and the positives of any alternative situation more than the negatives. So because our minds are doing this all the time, every other situation always looks better than ours does. But in reality, ours is just as good. All of them are just as good. They're all the same thing. So there's someone in your environment who, or perhaps there's a lot of this in your environment with the recent political climate, it's very likely, because I see in the fears is the King of Coins. And the King of Coins, usually a very positive energy, but this can be, it can be a scary energy for the King of Wands, which is what your overall message is, because the King of Coins is very materialistic. This is a person who's good. In other words, he will do what it takes to make the best functioning society with what he with what he has available. You know what I mean? He's going to take the world currently, today, as it is, and make it into something beautiful. Okay, now the King of Wands makes the world into something different than it currently is. You see, so these two characters are a bit at odds, and this is very much sort of like this can be looked at as like a Democrat versus Republican sort of debate, or let me rephrase that, a conservative versus liberal type of debate, because a conservative is really going to be more focused on, facing up to facts, how the world is, not how we would like it to be, and how we need to make systems that reflect that rather than propel us forward, And then the liberal is more on the other side, where, yes, things are bad right now, and honestly, people are a little bad, so we need systems that sort of condition people to be better people and enforce better behavior or something like that, better morality, that type of thing. And of course, that's not necessarily how it's going to look on either side to the other people, but that's sort of the creative difference that you have. Do you want to do the best with what you have, or do you want to try to get something else? Do you want to try to settle, balance the physical world around you, or do you want to try to bring new things into the physical world? Okay, so as a person who has gone down the path of the wands here, who has gone down the path of creative vision, of and like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean your political affiliation. This can very much be your approach to work or art or business or anything like that. But it could be, you know, because of the recent election and all that, you're feeling some trepidation and fear about this King of Wands type of character. King of Wands type of character who's really, in his eyes, probably just doing what he thinks he has to do to get the job done right, you know? So this is a growing moment for you. This is something that you're going to have to learn to take the high road through and not just cry and throw things. You're going to have to actually figure out a way to be effective. And that's going to teach you some valuable lessons. So very exciting, very cool reading for you, Pisces. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments, and I will try to incorporate any suggestions that I have in future readings. Okay? Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.